Welcome to News West 9's West Texas View with Johnny Lou Avery.
Welcome to the West Texas View. You met Dr. Elisa Brown last week when she was here as our guest for the very first time. She's been in the Midland-Odessa area for 8 years, and I am really mad at myself for not having her on before because she is so interested and has so much information. She grew up in the Houston area, went off to Texas A&M to get her undergraduate degree, but she always, from little tiny child, wanted to be an OBGYN. And she went away to Norfolk, Virginia, and went to medical school, and then came back and was recruited by our very strong Texas Tech Health Science Center and medical school to come back and be a teaching physician. But she is also a practicing physician, and she loves her work with her patients. But she also loves the teaching of the future doctors. And so thank you so much for coming back. It's such a pleasure to have you, and you've got so much information to share with us. Tell us, as we open the program today, what are the things that you feel like women do the best and the worst in taking care of their health?
Oh, that's a good question. The best that they do is take care of their families. Yes. The worst that they do is put everyone before themselves.
Excellent. That is, I can identify with that.
Yes.
And when you know, one of the things that I was taught a long time ago when I was going to a parenting class before I had my child is you can't be your best self as a parent if you're not your best self. And that told me that if I didn't keep myself healthy, if I were unhealthy and not feeling good, I couldn't be my best self to others, whether it was my husband or my child or my workforce.
That's very true.
And so that really, really stuck with me all these years. And so what you say is very important. But go a little bit further than that. What do you wish every woman would do, other than doing the preventive and coming in for a yearly checkup? What are some of the other things? What do you hope they tell you when they come in?
Well, I hope that people are okay with sort of telling us a little about their personal lives. We've asked some questions that are a little personal so that we can know what your risks are and tailor what we need to do for you. It's really good to have a regular relationship with your physician so that if you don't feel comfortable saying some things at the beginning of the relationship, maybe 2 or 3 visits down the road, we can help you iron out some things that may be really troubling you. So
are you saying that they need to choose their doctor according to how comfortable they feel?
I think so.
And how good a relationship they can form?
I think so, because we can only help you with what we know is wrong. And after we've seen you for a while, like we said earlier, you know, sometimes we can just look at you and say, you're not yourself today.
Yeah.
And that might start a conversation that fixes a problem that you had for years, but just either didn't know that it could be fixed or was a little bit bashful about talking about it.
Or maybe just was so ignorant of what was wrong, they didn't know how to ask questions, so they just didn't ask any.
Right.
And one of the friends, a woman that I knew, told me one time she did not go to the doctor because she was in an abusive relationship, and she knew her doctor would find it, would find out about it, and then she was afraid something would happen to her husband. And I thought that was such a strange explanation. So you probably have all kinds of things like this happen where you're just wanting to get them well. You're just wanting to prevent them from being sick, and all of these other things are working in their relationships that stand between you and your patient.
Well, I mean, we know now that like we have said, that a woman is a whole person, and that those things count as part of your exam and as part of your history, and they're not outside of your well-being. Because if those kinds of things are troubling you, if it's not safe at home, even say it's, you know, some people think it's an embarrassing topic, but you're around the menopause and your sex drive has decreased. Well, your husbands may not have. What's that going to do to your relationship? The freedom and the comfort to be able to talk about those things, see what we can do, can make you safer, make you more apt to follow our instructions, and then have a healthful, happier life and relationship.
And that's a key, is why not fix a problem instead of just stewing in it? And you can't fix it if you don't really know what the problem is.
Right.
So you've got to know it, and then have a professional that comes in and says, these are some choices that we have in solving this problem. Another thing that I had another friend that I was talking to one day, and she was talking about how things like her nails and her hair had gotten really brittle and lackluster. And I mentioned, why don't you ask your doctor about that? And she said, I never even thought about that. And that's another telltale sign, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, that could be very many things. It could be an endocrine problem like from your thyroid, or around the menopause it could be from hormone changes. So those are things that we can look into and investigate and most likely help with.
And when a woman becomes pregnant, this is one of my favorite topics, is that their bodies, everything changes so much and so rapidly, and then goes back when it's over. And so you're involved not only in helping teach them all of this growth and change during this period, but then what's happening to their body when it's over.
Absolutely, that's very true, and the changes are pretty monumental. So one of the big things we do as obstetricians and gynecologists, as obstetricians, is we work with other medical professions. If a woman has a problem, say seizures, or she has a heart problem, the way her body is going to react when it's pregnant is different than any other time. And so you have to account for that whenever you do a treatment, not just, let's not give any medicine because she's pregnant. We have to know exactly what's normal and what's not. Your lab work is going to be all different, and some people think, this is abnormal. Well, it may not be abnormal for pregnancy. So we work with other physicians to kind of say, this is how much radiation you can have in an x-ray. This is what medication that you can give, and it's still safe. So
and you even talk to them about when you go to the dentist during pregnancy,
we get that
don't
a lot.
have x-rays or some of those kinds of things, or
depending
whatever.
on how far along you are and how bad it is. Because if you're pretty far along, it's not going to hurt the baby when the limbs are already formed, but what if you've got an abscess that might go to your eye? So sometimes it's actually more important for the safety of the mom to treat what is there, and it's not going to necessarily hurt the baby. So we help other medical providers navigate through that.
We've got to take a break. Just so much to talk about. We'll see you in just a minute.
Stay tuned. West Texas View will be right back.